exactly 11 a.m.
Okay.
Oh, we're live. Yes. So, good morning, good morning, good
Morning.
morning. Yes, and depending on where everyone is joining from, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. So, we hope that more people will be joining us as time goes on. So, but it's good to have you, Fumi. Thanks for joining, and
Thanks.
everyone who is hearing my voice, anywhere in the world, you're welcome to the program. Yes, hello, my
Hi,
moon. Yes,
hello. Can you
Fumi.
hear me? I'm trying to make sure that my AirPods are working.
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Fantastic.
All right. Thanks for joining as well. So we're already live, and I'm sure a couple of people might have be seeing us at the moment. All right. So we have the women first. Already on time. That's brilliant. Okay. So hello everyone. Whoever is listening and anywhere in the world you're joining in from. My name is Adenike, and I'm excited about today. We're going to be having a very crucial conversation, and we won't be the only one talking, even though I have some beautiful panelists already joining. But we will also be taking in comment, feedback, questions from everyone. So this is how it's going to be. So we have a panelists who are already here. So we're going to be asking them some few questions, but everything is around the World Social Justice Day, and the theme is achieving social justice through formal employment. So this discussion is live on Facebook, is live on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. So if you're joining across any of this platform, you are welcome. And what you need to do is you just have to use the interactive buttons on this platform to engage with us. So you can click the like button and whatever buttons that are available. And most importantly, the comments boxes in all these platforms. So whenever you put any comments in the comment box, it's going to appear and we are going to see it as well. So you can start putting in your questions, and you can also start joining us in sharing some of your contributions. All right. Yeah, so without further ado, let's get right into the program. Yeah, so I'm gonna start with my panelist. Like I said, my name is Adenike. Um, I am so excited to be here. I am one of the directors at the Nigerian Interest Network. I'm a young person, and I'm in the development sector. My focus is on behavioral change communication. Yeah, so that's some little things about me. So we would love to meet our panelists, and I'm going to start with Fumi. Please kindly introduce yourself. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Adenike. My name is Fumilayo Oyefusi. I'm an organizational development practitioner, and I work with ActionAid Nigeria as the Director of Organizational Effectiveness at the moment.
All right.
I'm passionate about young people and passionate about women as well. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Fumi. All right. So, as you can see in the comment box, we have some participants already joining. I saw someone from Kaduna. Okay, Daniel Magaji is also from Kaduna. Activista Nigeria, you're welcome. Thanks for joining. Please call on your friends and your pals to also join. Eunice, great to see you. Thanks for joining as well. Okay, so let me move on to my second panelist, Maimuna. Did I get it right? Yes, please kindly introduce yourself.
Hi, Denike. My name is Mimuna Maibe. I'm the country director for Global Citizen in Nigeria. I manage operations here in Nigeria and also in some West African markets as well. That includes campaigning, government relations, and all that good stuff. I'm an environmentalist. I work in development, also passionate about women and girls issues, climate, systemic barriers, and all the good stuff about development, essentially. I'm really happy to be here.
All right, fantastic. Nice to have you, Maimuna. Thank you very much. All right, so yes, so we have the male among us. Good to have you, David. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good
So
to be here.
we would love to meet you, David. Kindly introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is David Omi, as you can see. I'm actually fortunate to be the founding director of Salt House. That's the Institute for Inclusive Governance and Sustainable Development. Basically, our work revolves around facilitating inclusive growth in developing countries. We currently operate in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, and the Benin Republic. And yeah, and hopefully I look forward to learning from my co-panelists. I can actually see we have, a wealth of experience here. So I look forward to learning and sharing as well. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, David, and thank you, everyone, for introducing yourself. So, as you can see, we are having some people already joining. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. So, a quick recap on some of the housekeeping rules that I mentioned before. So, this event is live streamed across Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So, you can just interact with the buttons across this platform. Maybe you share, you like, and you make comments, questions, feedback, whatever it is, we're going to see from our hand. So thanks everyone once again. And like I also mentioned, we won't be the only one talking, even though my panelists are eager to actually share some of their experiences and some of their insights based on the questions we're going to be asking them. But we are open, so kindly share your feedback as the questions roll out. All right, so it's the World Social Justice Day, and the theme is achieving social justice through formal employment. So, formal employment is like the opposite of informal employment. So, formal employment, as we know, offer opportunities for economic growth and can lead to the creation of decent jobs. So, in a country like ours in Nigeria, informal employment is what thrive more. And if we really want to improve on our economic growth, we need to start taking formal employment more. We need to start appreciating people for their skills. I mean, paying people more for their skills and for the time that they're contributing to any employment. And most importantly, we need to help structure jobs and businesses so that they can be able to compete globally. So, and when we also say formal employment, we should pay attention to the vulnerable included, and so that their skills and time too can be worth it. So today we are going to discuss achieving social justice with regards to formal employment and what are the solutions to ensuring equal rights for young people. So how do we ensure that it's inclusive? How do we ensure that the rights of young people are protected? How do we maximize technology and the yes, how do we maximize technology in achieving this? So most of the contributions that will be said today is going to be documented, and we hope that the policymakers are going to hear and are going to um, um, take the discussions and the insight and start acting on them. So I'm gonna ask Fumi. Let me go to Fumi first. Fumi is from Action Aid Nigeria. Um, um, so Fumi, please, how important is achieving social justice through formal employment, especially for young people and women?
All right, thank you very much, Adenike. Let's first of all define what social justice means. It's about breaking the barriers. It's about wealth distribution. It's about creating safety nets and economic justice for everyone. And now we're focusing on young people and women. So within the formal employment is also about ensuring that there's justice, that is equity, there is equality within the workspace for young people and for women. For formal employment as well, is also ensuring that there is inclusiveness for young people and for women. So for instance, what would make a young person to be inclusive in the workplace? There are the policies. It's a policy of the organization. So you are also ensuring that, because we know that the young people, they want to work differently from those who are baby boomers and all of that. They want to work when they want to work. They want freedom. They want their space. So it's creating policies in the organization that would ensure that they are inclusive. So if a young person says, I want to work from home, or I just want to do my work in a cafe, we see that outside the country, it's creating a policy that will ensure that the deliverables of that young person is clearly set out so he can work from anywhere. Yes, once in a while you can come to the office. And also, if we're looking at social justice through formal employment for young women, it's also looking at policies that are family friendly for women in employment. So a woman is pregnant, and we all know the challenges and everything that comes with pregnancy. So there are days that the woman just want to work from home. There are days that the woman is not able to wake up early to come to work. It's ensuring that those policies are family friendly. Even when the woman delivers a baby, achieving social justice means that you are creating an opportunity for that woman to be able to fulfill her gender roles and also contribute to work without being harassed, without being intimidated, without being without being excluded from decisions or from things that matter in the organization. So, social justice through formal employment for young women and for women especially, it's all about having an organization that is sensitive and that is proactive in terms of what are the needs of its employees, and especially for the young ones and for the women that have nursing responsibilities or that have to pay their gender roles. So it's all about policies, it's all about practices, it's all about putting systems in place that would ensure that nobody is excluded from the work through formal employment. And it's also about creating a proper contract through your policies as well, because a lot of people would employ people and not give them contracts. And I've had to discuss with young people, do not go into an organization where you don't have a formal contract to detail, this is my obligation, this is the obligation of the employer, and this is how much I am supposed to earn at the end of the day. And this is the duration of my contract. So social justice through formal employment is ensuring that there are policies and there are practices and there are contracts in place that details what each one of us or what our obligations are at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you very much. I will say that once again because you've just helped us to demystify the big term social justice as regards formal employment. And most importantly, you mentioned a very critical thing. You said achieving social justice is ensuring that organizations are sensitive and are proactive to the needs of its employees. Okay, and especially young people and women, because these are the, especially in this age and time now. So we're focusing on the Gen X, Gen Y, the millennials, and all that. So we need to understand that we don't have to start bringing how it has been working several years ago and infusing it to what is happening at the moment. All right. Thank you so much. So, and I'm also thinking that for jobs that, because in Nigeria we have quite a lot of informal employment. So what I mean is there are quite a lot of informal sectors. So I'm going to ask Maimuna this question: what needs to be done to ensure investments in supporting women and youth from the informal sector to formality in Nigeria?
Thank you, Adenike. I think a while back I came across a statistic, I think, from the World Bank that really shows that informal sector, it's the main source of
Mm.
employment and the backbone of economic activity in urban Africa, essentially. I think with over maybe 90% being women and young people. With that alone, it is clear that women and young people can contribute significantly to the economy upon transitioning into the formal sector. Whether formal or technical, young women and children need to have a great educational background, one that can ensure that they have basic requirements to hold spaces in formal sector. And also an introduction of some sort of a structure into the formal process via like a multi-stakeholder approach, such as, for example, development of strategies that promote financial inclusion and financial literacy, for example, for rural and entrepreneurial women and youth by financial institutions. That's one. And also really partnerships between government and technology firms to upskill these groups with basic literacy skills is another. And also, I think the most important thing for me to point out as regards this is that policymakers also must put checks and balances in place, right? To ensure that the basic education requirements in schools are met. So we have over 7.5 million girls between the ages of 5 and 16 that are out of school because of, social, cultural, religious, and other barriers. So policymakers need to really ensure that measures are put in place to address these barriers that keep young people, especially adolescent girls, in school. This in itself, it is an investment from the government, essentially ensuring that everyone has an equal opportunity to be part of the formal sector. And finally, I think private sector can play a big role in this as well. So private sector and employers of formal labor can also be encouraged, for example, to invest in education of those they could potentially hire in the future, right? So in summary with that is that private sector and government need to work together essentially. There has to be some sort of a coalition around this to create an educational system that really provides a conduit somewhat of highly skilled workers for the formal sector essentially.
Mm. Thank you very much. And like you said, education, partnership, financial support, these are very, very essential. Yeah, so David, and great work you're doing at Salt House, pardon me. So, as a young person yourself, you know that formal employment actually play an important role for young people, as well as for sustainable development. How are you making sure that young people are able to transition? So maybe through your work, through your experience, how are you as a young person making sure that young people are able to transition into decent work?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't consider myself a young person. I feel old every single day. Yeah.
Okay.
So thank you for the amazing question. And I have to say at this point that um, while we try to address the issues of informal employment, I have to say that informal employment in itself is not entirely a bad thing. About 65% of Nigeria's GDP is actually led by the informal sector, by SMEs, petty traders, and we also need to state this as well that there are individuals that prefer to run, informal businesses than putting structure around their business. So it's not entirely a bad thing. However, like Fumi rightly said, there are several issues that need to be addressed. I've had the opportunity to work with an organization here in the UK in Manchester called Hope for Justice, and their work revolves around modern day slavery. And I had the opportunity of exploring several case studies from Africa. Um, so while the informal sector, like I said, may not be entirely bad, but we need to address issues such as labor exploitation, ensuring that people are paid for their services, not just paid. Recently we've been talking a lot about fair trade and the SDGs, ensuring that people are paid not just for the services but paid fairly for for the, should we say, for the price of the products or the services that they provide along the value chain to the end of its life cycle. For example, we could take coffee, for example. In Rwanda, we have lots of poor farmers in Rwanda that actually grow all of the coffee, the tea that is being exported to Switzerland for our chocolate and all of that. But if you find out what these farmers are paid per ton compared to what the businesses, the chocolate farmers, these chocolate brands, popular chocolate brands like Cadbury and all of that, they earn per for that same quantity of chocolate, when it's incomparable. So our work at Salt House, really, like I said, it revolves around inclusive development. What we do is we have teams across different parts of Nigeria and Sierra Leone and Benin Republic, and we go to remote communities, particularly marginalized communities, in search of real data. We don't really rely a lot on the information that we get on the internet. We prefer going out there to meet with the people that live in these communities. And we in our work we try to identify four things. All right. The very first thing we identify is we have what we call the Rrda framework, and Rrda stands for research, reports, discuss, and advocate. So the first thing we do is we carry out research. So our teams monthly, they go out to different communities, and we, like I said, we try to find out four things. The very first thing we try to discover is I want to know what the education system is like. How many schools, primary schools, do they have in that community, secondary schools, and maybe some form of tertiary education, if any. We also try to find out what's the ratio of the population to the number of schools. We find out the healthcare sector. But in the context of this conversation, we also want to find out about their welfare. And assessing the welfare, we investigate on what do they do in that community. Are they predominantly farmers? Are they fishermen? Do they have some form of mining industry, or in some parts of the south where you have oil refineries and all of that? How many persons from the community actually work in these large scale companies? So that's basically what we do. And in the course of most of the reports, because I read every report, and most of the reports I've actually read myself. Actually, in these remote communities, you find out that they are, predominantly informal sectors. All right, you see a fisherman, a woman who has about 7 kids, her husband doesn't work. They're mostly it's the women that actually drive the economy in these rural communities. I should add, which I'm surprised to find out, but that's the harsh reality. And you find out that when we ask simple questions such as, okay, what do you need? They don't really need to put structure around their business. They don't really identify the need. Like, why do they need structure around their business? All they just need is they need more infrastructures. They need the better pay. For example, we did a research in Kano. The tomato farmers in Kano, the rice farmers in Kano, whenever the uptakers come and buy up all of their produce from the farm, it's about, say, 10%, not even up to 10% of what the final cost of the produce is when it arrives in Lagos. And you find out that they actually lose lots of the value price to to what we call the middlemen, who do not really do lots of the work, just because they know the market, they have the logistics infrastructures to move their produce from the farm to the market, and then they exploit the farmers. So I'm glad that we would be talking about how the digital economy would actually solve some of these issues, because we need to see the emergence of a few startups that solving these problems. But with the work that we do, we've been able to bring to light some really important facts that we would not accept on the number, or we would not conceive on the number if we do not relate with these farmers. And I think rather than us promoting, a formal sector and all of that, I think my co-panelists rightly said, we need more of partnerships and ethical partnerships that would actually not just alter the culture in these different regions, but also provide an a better way of living, just the way I picture it is there is nothing wrong with a farmer in some rural community in Akwa Ibom sending his child over to, to the best university in Nigeria, sending his child over to the UK to get the best education. There's nothing wrong with that. A farmer does not have to relocate to Lagos, to the big cities, to be able to accomplish all of these. So I think that's what our work revolves around: the data, bringing to light all of these fame. um, you know, it's really sad, but I believe that we are working. I'm working. Fumi is working. Maimuna is working. You're working at Denike as well. You're doing it, and eventually we will be able to harness modern technology and frameworks to solve this problem. Thank you.
All right, David. I would have loved to ask you the next question, but let me give room for our participants joining us. So the conversation has been quite interesting, and I really want to learn, or I really want to know from participants: are you in the informal sector or in the formal sector? And do you feel satisfied where you are at the moment? Do you feel that you're being paid well? Do you feel that the organization you're working for actually understand you and they're giving you the best that you need to perform well wherever you are? So it would be great to hear from you. So please just input in the comment box. Yeah. So, and thank you very much, David, once again. Most importantly, you mentioned data, and that is what you do at Salt House. And I think that's the number one step. We can't just make assumptions that informal sector, we just have to drive people to formal sector. So we need to understand their challenges, we need to understand their needs, we really need to put ourselves in their shoes and hear from them directly, because they are the ones in there and they will be in the best position to explain what exactly that they need. And it's important to also note that the what a farmer needs in the north will be different from what a farmer needs in southern Nigeria. So just generalizing things might not be a good way to address the core issues. Yeah, and great works everyone is doing. I mean, from Action Aid, Global Citizen, Salt House, great works everyone is doing, and even at Nigerian Youth Heritage Network, this is one thing that we are keen in trying to help young people access decent work and working on policies that will actually make that happen. So, if you're listening to me anywhere you are in Nigeria or in the world, let us know. Are you in the informal sector or in the formal sector? And do you feel satisfied doing what you love doing, or do you feel satisfied where you are currently? Do you think you're well paid? Do you think your employer understands you? All right, so David, please let me go back to you. So you mentioned that technology is very important to help address this.
Yeah.
So and it's a general thing, like we all know, especially as long as you have a smartphone, you can
Mhm.
access the internet. You know that digital economy offers an amazing pathway, especially for young people to get formal employment. So my question to you is: how can we harness the power of the internet and technology to achieve social justice?
Very, very great question. Well, back in Nigeria, I had the opportunity to work with a couple of startups through a business consulting firm I had when I was in Nigeria, and I got to interview several startups, like I said. Amongst them, which one of them I found really remarkable is Farm 365. It's a Kano-based startup. And the work that they are doing trying to disrupt the current agricultural supply chain, it's really remarkable. So basically what they do is they try to connect farmers directly to the market. So for example, you're a trader in Lagos, you don't have to rely on a middleman or middlemen to get your goods to you. You can directly access the farmers, by basic USSD technology. In these communities, we know that most of the individuals in these communities, they don't have, from our research, they don't really use harness the internet, but they understand how to use this basic USSD for their transactions, for their mobile money. They have several saving plans that they do, what we call agile, and they use, this is just a normal phone, basic mobile phone to track all of this, and they're really good at it. So that's one creative way of solving some of these problems. Because with that, rather than a farmer who is paid 500 naira for a basket of tomatoes that eventually becomes about 14,000 naira when it gets to Mount 12 markets in Lagos, can actually get paid more. And at the end of the day, we find out that the cost of these goods, when they get to the market, it's cheaper than what it is today. And that way, we would be able to solve other problems around the edges, like making food affordable for for the common man. So it's a network, all right? It's a network. So that's one. Few years ago, about let's say 20 years ago, I don't think anyone had the role of social media manager in their CV. Yeah, we did not have that. We did not have the role of cybersecurity experts. We didn't have the role of internet marketers. All of these things did not exist about 30 years ago. But these are new opportunities that are emerging, and young people are actually taking advantage of it. The good thing is that because of the internet, data has become really affordable compared to what it was, growing up. Data was, if you had access to data, like you're a big, but not anyone, it's really affordable. And now there are lots of open source platforms where you can get trained on certain soft skills around, maybe building a website or managing a website or digital marketing or some form of security course. Even as a business person, like I did tailoring when I was in university, doing my first degree at the University of Benin. And the internet actually played a huge role to, let's say, the late success are recorded by, just taking pictures, uploading it on social media. Your classmates get to see them, they share it for you. And so these things did not exist. So before, I would maybe be expecting someone who knows the politician or who knows someone who pays more to get the job come to me, a poor, Unibank student, and say, okay, he gets paid 5,000 naira for the job. He comes to me and say, oh, you're a student, take 700 naira, do the job. But now I now have direct access to my customers, or I add. And that's the same, that's the story for lots of businesses today. You see lots of young people who are, harnessing basic things such as the social media, who are also, like, I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and she showed me a website she developed by herself. She's not a web developer, but she developed a website because of a project she wanted to do. And now that's really amazing. That's really remarkable. There are lots of platforms where people can learn all of these skills. And the more I think the goal for us is what we should be doing is not, I don't think we need more platforms because we already have the platforms. We just need more courses. We need more awareness. I love what you're doing at Nigerian Youth SDGs. Recently you had a project in partnership with the International Labour Organization where you trained a couple of people across Nigeria on so that's remarkable. So they may not necessarily learn social media marketing just because they want to become social media marketers, but because they have some form of business idea, and that would actually thrust them to the face of their customer. They get to make more money, and that's how we actually solidify the economy and build. We're able to achieve SDG 8, which is decent work and economic growth. I also need to say this. I should have said this before, that there are several issues if we're going to talk about addressing the informal sector, some of these social injustice and menaces that occur in the informal sector. I see it as inclusion as a benefit and also as a responsibility. And I would say it's a responsibility because while we expect, oh, the government should do this, we need to have this infrastructure, we need to have that infrastructure. But at the same time, we also need to ensure, why is it that people would prefer, just hiring people without a contract? You have to take into consideration issues such as, oh yes, that's because they understand the fragility of the economy. If something happens today, inflation goes up, we don't have an active or an adequate price regulatory body that controls the price of goods and services. So why take the risk? Businesses that suffer during the heat of the COVID pandemic, or businesses, so many businesses they lost funds, and I'm sure Fumi and Maimuna would also attest to this. And that's because of the what we call operation expenses. I had 30, maybe 30 workers to work on. Why hire 30 workers when I can actually just get someone, just do this job for me and get paid the person off and wait for the next job? That's because of how fluid the economy is. But if we actually have a solidified economy where the government, provides incentives, where we ourselves, we also build some form of structure around, understand how business finance works, I think that would actually play a huge role in helping us address some of these issues. And then that way I would be confident enough to say, okay, yeah, irrespective of how the price of dollar or, the presence of petrol or whatever, I am confident enough to hire 20 persons and not lay them off whenever there's some form of, pandemic, COVID-20 or COVID-22, whatever that is. All right. So these are some issues that we need to address. So like I said, back to the topic about how to harness technology. We already are. It is not a question. It's not. We already are. There's a lot of smart people doing amazing things. There's Coursera. Coursera, you can take any course you want. You only get to pay for the certificate. All right. You can. There are so many ways of learning, but it's a question of how can we promote this? How can we help people understand that it's not necessarily about learning these skills to fit in those roles, but learning these skills so they could help you accomplish that big vision that you have for yourself and for your society. Does that make sense? And I think you're already doing a fantastic work at Nigerian Youth SDGs, and I also went through. I've read about Action Aid before. Maimuna also had the opportunity of going through your organization. You guys are doing fantastic work, but we need more awareness. That's basically what it is. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you very much, David. And you said a lot of couple of things that are great. That it will also make me want to go back to watch this video again. So thanks for that excellent insight. So based on the last thing that you said, I would have loved to ask the next question, but I'm trying to look at some of the comments in the chat box to see what people are saying. Okay, so I think people are just addressing. Okay, not really. Everyone is just joining across the country where they're joining in from. All right. Um, yeah. So it's really important. Everything being mentioned is really important. And as I was listening, I'm just having some kind of let's say like some kind of aha moment, and I'm like, there are a lot of opportunities out there. People are passionate. There's the problem existing. There's also the government trying to provide the necessary infrastructure, and also ensuring that the economy is even balanced so that things are not shaky, like some of the things that David said. For a price increase today, this thing will happen tomorrow. So it actually affects how businesses and how jobs are being done in this part of the world. So, and that reminds me of the Nigerian Employment Action Plans that we worked on at the Nigerian SDGs Network. I remember that we did a survey, and I keep saying this because it's an eye opener for me, and I think it's something that the world needs to hear, because it's data, it's real, it wasn't formulated, it was something that over 212,000 young people said. So the number one thing that we asked was, um, when it comes to decent work, when it comes to jobs, when it comes to employment and all this, what does it really mean to you? Like, what does feeling satisfied and fulfilled, what does it really mean? What exactly do you want? Is it a good paying job that will add money to your bank account? Is it a good house that you'll be fine and you build your family? And it was shocking to me that the number one thing that most Nigerians, young Nigerians, said they want is they actually want a job or a business or something they would do that will help them improve their community, that will help them build their nation. So it's, compared to what we hear from the media, compared to what we see out there, that young people are so money centric. But in reality, young people are actually passionate about helping their community and building their community. And it's one of the reasons, and it's even like the major fulfillment for them whenever they get employed or they start a business. They want to improve their community, their nation. So these problems are out there, but it's as if there are problems and there are passionate people who want to help. But of course, money is also very important because you need to get a house, you need to organize yourself and feed yourself. So it's I'm seeing like gaps in the middle. I'm seeing gaps in the middle, and I'm like, how do we work on this? How do we bridge it? Yeah. So let me go to Maimuna. And when I asked Maimuna the question before, she actually talked more about policymakers need to do these. Policymakers need to work on upskilling these skills. I mean, this group of people, I mean, young people and women, policymakers need to invest in education and all that. But it would be great to ask to know what you as a development practitioner and especially one that is running that is in charge of a global platform like global citizen. So how are you partnering to support young people and women in Nigeria to achieve social justice, to move from informality to formality? So it would be great to hear so that other people who are willing to also contribute and to also work in that line, they would see what is possible and what is already existing, and it will inspire them to want to contribute as well.
Thanks, Adenike. David, I was listening to you. You were dropping some major gems there. Because as an organization, we're very tech-driven as well in how we kind of mobilize young people on our platform to take actions towards different development issues that they care about. So I know that definitely tech-enabled action taking and mobilizing young people definitely works. And Global Citizen is really there to prove that it does, right? So as an advocacy organization, working to end extreme poverty, that is our ethos as an organization, essentially. We really do recognize that changing the world, no one should be left behind, essentially, right? When especially women experience one form of disenfranchisement or the other, our actions as an organization is directed towards specific SDGs sometimes. For the purpose of this conversation, is usually SDG 1, no poverty, and SDG 5, gender equality. What we have successfully managed to do as global citizens is over the last decade, for example, we have identified issue areas, right, that affect the most vulnerable in the community and also catalyze investment to address them. So we hold these amazing concerts around the world where we have amazing artists and amazing influencers performing. But what people don't understand is sometimes we're tagged as the organization that do this concert and the organization that brought Beyonce to Africa. But there's a lot more we do than that. So really our target audience is between the ages of 18 and 30, right? So essentially what we're trying to do with our model as an organization is we're trying to make policy a bit more digestible to young people. So that same stage that you see Beyonce or John Legend performing, or Burna Boy or Davido in Nigeria's case, is the same stage where you would see presidents and prime ministers and governors honoring to make commitments towards development. For example, we had an event in Lagos in September where Lagos State Governor, Minister of Finance, and also Access Bank CEO were on the stage committing to different issues. For example, Lagos State Governor committed to vaccinating 30% of Lagosians by the end of this year. So what we do is, as an organization, this goes through all the commitments. We work with the commitment maker. We have a due diligence process that these things go through, and we follow to report on impact over the period of the commitment. So that's one way we work with policymakers and then private sector to make commitments towards development. And what we have also, focused on as global citizen has always been to use our unique model to advocate for causes that encourage global citizens around the world to take action towards the causes that affect them, as I said earlier. So that could be through a tweet. You can be tweeting at the policymaker. You can be signing petitions on our platform, and also calling world leaders to take action at the very essence of social justice as we're speaking today. To give you an example, in the wake of the NSAS protests in 2020, we particularly really as an organization zeroed in on our target audience and the global nature of what we do about movement building and really galvanizing young people to take action. So what we've done was that by amplifying the concerns of the young Nigerian youth during the protests to our global community, essentially. We were offering adequate information about organizations in Nigeria that were really supporting the movement by providing support to victims and also victims of police brutality, of course. And also this has kind of resulted in global community really paying attention based on all the editorial and all the actions that we're pushing on our platform. We have also launched petitions, and I said editorials really canvassing increase in investment, right? To aid like safe learning for schools, especially in high-risk areas in the country. This is really targeted at ensuring that young people are armed essentially, right, with the prerequisite skills to break even in the formal sector, essentially, if they decide to go into the formal sector. Some of our ongoing activities as an organization is really focused this year, for example, we're really going to be focused on our activist first strategy, which is really centered around the voices and actions of young people creating change in their communities. We're an advocacy organization, so really we have the platform, and globally we have the brand recognition to really lift up other activists that are doing amazing things in the grassroots organizations and communities. So by providing our platforms to them, they have access and network to really pitch to organizations that will be able to fund the amazing work that they're doing. And in the coming weeks, if everybody's paying attention, and please look out for this, we would also be unveiling our plans for the year, which is going to be our policy white paper that really outlines what we want to achieve in 2020 and beyond. It's going to be really centered around the civic space, which is about youth leadership and really making sure that young people take control of their own development, right? We will be engaging with different tools really to promote social justice in the country by using that. And also last year, we had the first Nigerian youths were introduced to the Global Citizen and Bay Good Fellowship, which is Bay Good is Beyonce's foundation. So during one of our major concerts in South Africa in 2018, Beyonce was in Africa, she performed there. What she did was that she committed to re-educating or training, should I say, 50 Africans over the period of 4 years in partnership with Global Citizen. So at that time, we didn't have a Nigeria office. So our South African office ran the first 2 cohorts of that fellowship, 10 fellows each year. But then last year, we had 10 Nigerians apply and 5 South Africans. So we have currently the cohort of 15 fellows. Usually they go through the fellowship training, but what's really important for us as an organization is making sure that they're integrated into the global citizen structure and the global citizen framework. So this dynamic program is specially designed to equip the selected fellows with skills and tools that they would need to thrive essentially in the world, right, after the 1-year fellowship. Not just during the time at Global Citizen, but also in the future professional environment that they decide to go into. And upon completion, these young people and change makers are able to transition smoothly into the employment world, because we're going to be having job placement opportunities for them. We're going to have industry organizations coming to pitch to them. So it's almost like we're matchmaking them with employers during the course of the fellowship. And our commitment really is to empower young women, which really reflects our current cohort. I think about 60% of them are women. Not only has the fellowship program really proved that that is beneficial, but it has also proved quite effective in cascading support for women and young people based on the fellows' pragmatic insights. A lot of them were already running their NGOs and running their organizations from university. So they're coming into this program, we're very informed, some of them really even knowing what departments they want to work in and how they're going to upskill themselves within the year to prepare themselves to either go back and run their own organizations or attract employers that they want to work with. And also it goes without saying that there should be nothing for youths without youths, right? So youths need to mobilize together. The same can be said also for interventions targeted at helping women transition into the formal sector. For example, while it's also important that we work towards helping these groups of people transition into the formal sector, it is also equally important for us to ensure that these spaces are also safe for women to go into, right? A recent survey carried out by one of our global citizen equity partners. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this organization, run by an amazing young lady called Oluwaseun, called Stand to End Rape, a nonprofit organization really providing services and response for sexual and gender-based violence survivors. Recorded that about, I think it was 64% prevalence of workplace sexual harassment, for example. So making sure that those places are even safe for us to say that young people should go into it another. So over the last 2 years, we've really, as an organization, worked with equity partners and launched a campaign called the Roadmap to 36. When we started that campaign, I think there was only about 18 states in Nigeria that had domesticated the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act at that time. So we did a year-long campaign working with grassroots organizations that have been really championing it, alongside with our partners at UN Women and Ministry of Women Affairs as well, to really make sure that all 36 states essentially in Nigeria domesticate the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bill. As at November, December, by the time we had our event for 16 days of activism, it was about, I think, 32 states. The Minister of Women Affairs confirmed that had domesticated it. So really, us mobilizing to make sure certain things and certain bills and certain laws are passed, and also not just domesticating it. So coming into this year, we have to continue our stakeholder engagement and continue campaigning to make sure that the states that have domesticated it are also implementing it, right? So there's a lot to be done in all states of the Federation to address this and other widespread forms of gender-based violence, or even just forms of youth activism, and just making sure that we're mobilizing ourselves as an organization and also as young people to really think about what part do we need to play in this, in what's going on, right? How do we mobilize, put our heads together? There's power in numbers, essentially, to make sure that what we're really looking for happens. So I'm also happy to say that this cohort of Global Citizen and Be Good Fellows is ending in June. And we're going to be announcing the next cohort, which we have 5 amazing spaces open for young Nigerians. Please apply if you're between the ages of 21 and 25. It's an amazing opportunity where you get to work with Beyonce's team Parkwood in the US, as well as you're going to be part of the global citizen system. So you'll be working with the Nigeria team and all our global partners. They get to work across the different departments. The people that are interested in policy work in policy. The people that are interested in campaigns work in campaigns, marketing, content. So all that amazing stuff, please apply. We would be advertising it soon, I think in the coming week or 2. So look out for that. But yeah, over to you, Adinke.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Maimuna. That was very, very in-depth and quite a lot of opportunities that you've outlined. And I'm going to rephrase them again, but because of time. So let me just ask the last question. I'm seeing some questions in the chat box as well. So please just pardon us and just wait some few moments. We're gonna ask your question. I'm gonna say your questions, but for me, let me just quickly ask you this question. So it's like continuation of what Mimula said, because she actually talked about social justice and also talking about the data, how some jobs are kind of like will I use the word difficult, or is not safe rather for women. So because of the data that there's also harassment in the workplace and all that. So how can we ensure that social justice through employment in Nigeria is inclusive and leaves no one behind? We would love to get your insight.
Okay, thank you, Adenike, and I have learned a lot from the panelists, and I kept writing when Memuna was talking and David. Let me start with the organization. When we're talking about inclusiveness and leaving no one behind, it's if you include the young people, if you include the women, ultimately is a mutually beneficial relationship, because you are gaining from the cognitive ability of those women and even for the young people. So we need to think around that as an organization, that look, first, what's the need for the organization? You're the one benefiting because you have a lot of people that have the skills within the organization. And again, organizations that want to be productive and not just churning out material things, reports, and doing activities should focus on deliberate advancement of knowledge. And who are the people that have the new knowledge? They are the young ones. The young people they are very versatile. They are hungry for knowledge. So organizations should focus on deliberate advancement of knowledge, be deliberate about innovation and creation of new knowledge by including the young people in your workforce. So when we do that, then we would create an organization that is not just ticking the box in terms of, oh, we need to do this and we do it. Donor gives us money and we just create, work on the activities. You would go beyond ticking the box to the point where you're making impact in the society by engaging these young people, by engaging the youths and all that. Again, I like us to say that when we're talking about inclusiveness in terms of employment in Nigeria, organizations and even all of us, we need to go beyond thinking about gender or the age brackets. Think about their ability to come up with innovative ideas. I like the fact that David mentioned on technology. Technology is already existing. So when you want to do anything, young people are on Instagram, on all the other social medias, selling their stuffs, connecting with people outside the country. I saw a young boy, I think he was 17 years, that said he made his first million because he just posted something on LinkedIn that I can do this, I can create content and all of that. And somebody connected with him and said, okay, be my content creator manager. David mentioned it. We didn't have social media manager before. We didn't have content creator before. But now with the age of the advancement of technology, a lot of the young people are taking advantage of that and they're making themselves money. So we need to think beyond their gender, think beyond their age bracket, focus on their cognitive ability to bring something value addition to your organization by making sure that no one is left behind by including them. Then again, we also need to think around creativity around the motivation. So you're not going through the motivation of the other. When I started work, the motivation was all about money. It's all about social status and all of that. Motivation has gone beyond that. Young people want to have challenging work. They want you to include them in leadership roles. They want you to test them with something. They want flexibility in their work. So when you are creating inclusiveness in employment in Nigeria, you're talking about social justice, think creatively. How can I motivate these young people? How can I include them in my business, in my organization, such that my organization becomes the organization, the go-to? I create a value proposition where even the young person wants to come to. It's about creativity. It's about thinking around what will motivate these people. And then again, I don't want us to start pushing from informal sector to formal sector. Leave them in their informal sector. Let them make the money in their informal sector. The only thing I feel we need to do with them is how do we support them to create structure around their informality so that at least they know when they are making money, they can, also pay their taxes, they are registered properly, they can also employ more people, and they can also learn how to give contracts to people. So it's helping them to create structure in their informal state rather than pushing that we need to get them out of informal sector into formal sector. Not many jobs are available for all of us. So we need to let the young people know that we will support you to create your own job. And when you create your own job, we will support you to create structures around it that will make it a lasting thing, that will make it attractive even for people around. And if we must employ them in the formal sector, is also creating policies that would make them to stay, policies that would make them to feel comfortable, so that organizations will have different generations within the workspace, but you are including them because you are also flexible around your policies. If it is remote working you want to have, create a policy around that that would help them to focus on their deliverables, and you would become an organization that is not just performing but productive as well. So I think those are the things that would help us to include the young people and make sure that we don't leave anyone behind, whether they are in the formal sector or they are in the informal sector. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for me. Thank you very much. So I have some questions here, and so everyone has kind of like heard most of the insights shared, and the opportunities that have also been shared here. And I think the our conversation has been quite clear. So even for me, just wrapping up and talking about how to ensure inclusiveness, like she has been able to like explain how to go about it so that it's easier. So we're not, even if you're in the informal sector, as in you don't have to like bother yourself so much that how do I start wearing like coats, I mean sorry, how do I start wearing suits to the office maybe the next day. That's not what we're talking about. So we're actually talking about you embracing structure, and you trying to put a lot of things in order, and also conforming to the government rules and regulations, because that's the only way that you'll be able to access grants, financial support, and be able to access the opportunities that are there, because there are quite a lot. Because for instance, during the COVID pandemic, the heart of the COVID pandemic, the informal sector was the most hit because of the lockdown and the whole pandemic chaos and all that. So, based on everything that's been said, and the opportunities that some of the opportunities that Mimuna also mentioned, so someone is very eager to know the fellowship from Global Citizen. How can we access it, or what? Okay, let me just look at the question again. Someone is asking that what are the requirements so that they can start preparing themselves for it? What are the requirements for the fellowship? So this question is from Mimunat.
I like proactive people. I love it. Go
Yes.
and prepare. So you have to be between, I think, 21 and 25.
Okay.
And also, yeah, you would be required maybe to either write some sort of just maybe one pager. I can't remember how many words on why you want to be part of the fellowship program, what you can bring to the fellowship program, what you can gain from the fellowship program. You either have the choice of writing it or you doing like a 2-minute video for that. But watch out, follow us on LinkedIn. Also, really go to Global Citizen website, register to become a global citizen, and then this usually goes out in emails on a regular basis with the criteria as well.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. And let me just add to it as well. So Mimuna said we should watch out next week that the new the plan for the year, Global Citizens plan for the year will be unveiled by next week or so. So please look out for the social media platforms so that you can see all these great opportunities that are available for you. All right. So I think someone here is also interested in advocacy, and the person is like how can we involve the government? How can we like sit with the government to actually push for some of this policy formation? So I don't know who wants to go and help us with the answer.
I can jump in. We work very well with the government, even though as an organization we call out the government in one breath. In another breath, we're sitting down and advocating for policy change, right? So there's a way to do it. We're not very extreme as an organization. Having policymakers in the conversation is very important. We can't do it alone. We can be shouting and screaming all we want on our platforms. For example, last year we worked with the Minister of Women Affairs. We had, I think, about maybe almost 30,000 Nigerians sign a petition about really calling out that all the states domesticate the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Bill. So we have a very honest dialogue with the Minister of Women Affairs. These are young people on our platform, really interested in development issues and women and girls issues. And they've gone ahead to take this petition, to sign it, put their names and signatures on it. And in tandem, we're working with your ministry and other development partners to make sure that the states are actually domesticating this. So all of us are essentially stakeholders in this, right? So she understood that. And when we had our event, she formally, literally received the petition. We handed over those names to them. There are pictures to prove it. So young people feel like they're actually part of the conversation and part of the process. We just have to make sure as development people, we come across as non-threatening to the policymakers as well. There's a way to really bring them to the table. There's a way to table our matter, essentially, right? To them, for them to understand what the people are saying and what the people want. Essentially, we want the same thing. There are times where systems have failed us. We know that, right? So by calling out the government in one way, also we can have dialogue. That's why organizations like Global Citizen and others, and Action Aid as well, I'm sure, they have, I'm sure, productive dialogue with governments, targeted policy implementation that we're after. But really, we find it very responsive with our model and the way we work with government. So with conversations like this, yeah, as the person mentioned, it'd be productive to bring a policymaker to these kind of conversations where we can have honest and open conversations. I'm sure they would be willing to participate.
Yeah, I totally agree. So there's a way to go about it. So just go ahead, send the letter, invite them for the meeting and see. Because even personally, I've done quite a lot, and I see how receptive. Because it's like some of these MDAs, they are waiting. They are also eager to hear from the public, but it depends on how you table the conversation and how you approach them, which also really matters. All right. So we are finally, yes, so we've come to the end of the program. It's been great. It's been a great 1 hour, 6 minutes chatting with everyone. And thank you so much for everyone joining us across the country. I can see people from Mina, see people from Ibadan, see people from Lagos, and across different states in Nigeria. Thank you once again for joining us. And I really appreciate my panelists as well who have taken time out to have these conversations with us. So, is there any last word for anyone so that we just make just do a conclusion together? Because my heart is already, I have a lot in my head at the moment, and I don't even know how to,
I think
how to
I think
conclude the session.
I
Thank
think
you.
for me the only thing I would say is get involved. If there's anything I regret, if there's anything I regret, I would always say is not getting involved in social issues earlier in my life. I
Mm,
did not until say when I found myself homeless several years
mm,
ago, about 4 years ago.
mm,
Um, and if there's anything you can do, no matter how little it is, when we started Salt House, we started as a WhatsApp group.
mm,
I was still homeless when I started Salt House in 2018, actually. And that was because I was suffering, going through a lot at that time, and I could only imagine what others were going through
mm,
around other parts of Nigeria. So no matter what you can do, just get involved. Inclusion, like I said, it's not just about the benefits. It's not just about saying
mm,
yes, we need more women to be represented. We need more people across the different levels of socioeconomic strata to be represented. But we also need to admit the fact that we all have responsibilities to play to accomplish this.
mm,
Leaving the one behind is not leaving the one behind, and if you benefit and others are not. But it's also leaving no one behind in terms of helping everyone understand how best they can actually fit into different roles and bring about that collective benefit for all. The beautiful thing about sustainable development, which is why I studied that in my masters, is because there are no heroes. It's not
mm,
there are no heroes. Yeah, everyone plays their part. Everyone plays their
mm,
part. I had the opportunity of interning with the Bradford Council in the UK, yeah, and part of my job description was to come up with a clean growth transition, an inclusive clean growth transition framework for the district. And in my research, I discovered that the SDGs in itself, it's you can't. That's why you see there are lots of frameworks out there. You can't just be the hero. The best you can do is to just understand what the goals are, understand what the indicators are, and identify what aspects of your life, your
mm,
businesses, your way of your lifestyle, your culture actually fits with the SDGs and what adjustments do you have to make. And I think that's basically so. That's what I would admonish the audience to do. Don't wait until you can connect all the dots, until there is a fellowship, or until you're done with your undergraduate or your studies, or until you have all of the financial resources or financial needs met. wherever you are, start wherever you are, get involved, and you'd be amazed at the change you would drive. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And don't forget social media as well. It's open. You can use social media to also start, like you use
Yeah.
WhatsApp. All right, for me, Memuna, please your last words. Thank you.
For me, get involved is a word really. We've just seen this between maybe in the past few years. We've seen this young people that are really coming into their own and active, cultivating their activism essentially. So there's a survey we're currently running. Our campaigns team is running. So we always do this thing about just sending out surveys to really gauge people's interest on the kind of issues that they want us to campaign on. And a lot of young people in Nigeria, over I think 50% of them, the top 3 issues that they want us to campaign on this year and beyond. Number 1 was food and hunger. I was very surprised. Number 2 is climate issues. And number 3 is youth activism. So a lot of young people are really waking up to the realization that they have to take control of their own development, essentially. So there's power in numbers. There are organizations, a lot of civil society organizations like Global Citizen, which were really structured in such a way that we're only there to amplify the voices of young activists and grassroots organizations, essentially. We're not grant-giving organizations, but we have the platform to be able to match make you with funders, to really give you the space to cultivate what you're doing and to grow your movement. So really getting involved is the most important thing. We're going into an election year. You know what that means. Now more than ever, we have to come together as young people to really take charge and get our voices heard, essentially.
Thank you, Memuna. Get involved. There's a second time you're hearing it, so it's very important. Yeah, for me, very quickly.
Okay, so I'll say get involved, but I'll say it in another way for the young people. For the 3, so get involved is the highest vote we have today for the young people. Do not be intimidated by anything, by anyone, or by any organization. If there's no formal employment for you, please, in your informal setting, create a structure around it. And if you need help, shout out. There are people out there that could help to help you with the structure, of your business or whatever you're doing. And secondly, for organizations, it's important that we create policies that would enable us to benefit from the cognitive ability of the youths and the young people out there. They have a lot to offer, so let's also get them involved in our organizations. Thank you very much.
So I think my panelists have said it all. Get involved, get involved, get involved. Because in the next 10 years, it's, I don't know, adults today, they'll be waiting on us in the next 10 years. So this is for us, this is by us. We are the only ones that can actually do it. And with the way the world has changed now, no one can understand us than us. So get involved, get involved, get involved. All right, thank you so much once again, and it's been a brilliant conversation with everyone. So that's all from my hand, and on behalf of Fumi, Memuna, David, we say bye bye to everyone. Hope to see you another time. Yes,
Bye.
bye bye.
Thank
Have
you.
a restful weekend. Yeah.